Okay, we're going to get started with today's lesson then. So again, what you need is this worksheet that is adding tenths and hundredths. That was shared with mom and dad in their emails to print off, or it's in Google Classroom. You cannot write on it today in Google Classroom, so you'll just need a piece of paper if you don't have this printed one so you can work on the problems with us. We're going to do all the odd number problems together. You guys are going to do the even number problems for your homework for tonight. And you just might want to have this sheet from our practice review this morning, the one that has the tenths grid and the hundredths grid, because it may help you in adding some of these things together. But I think it's kind of like the training wheels that we talked about. You're eventually going to lose this sheet because you're not going to need it. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. So here's our first problem. I'm going to be adding 3 hundredths plus 6 tenths. Now, the one rule with adding fractions, I can never add a fraction unless the denominators are the same. Denominators, 110, are not the same. So I need to change these fractions so they're equivalent fractions. Now, if your brain is going, okay, I remember, something about the 10, I got to change it to hundreds. What do I do to both those numbers? Some of you are going, hey, wait, I remember. I'm going to take anything that's a 10 and multiply the denominator by 10, multiply the numerator by 10, and that's going to give me an equivalent fraction of 6 times 10 is 60, 10 times 10 is 100. So 6 tens really equals 60 hundredths. Now that I've got my equivalent fraction that's 100 in the denominator, I can add the 3 hundredths to it. And we know when we add fractions together, we add the numerators. So 60 plus 3 is 63. Do we add the denominators? 100 plus 100 is 200. No, I hear you shouting that out loud and clear. I keep the denominator the same, so it's just 63 100ths, okay? Now, why would you want this sheet that I talked about earlier? Well, the first problem said I was going to add 3 hundredths. So here's my 100 grid. Here's 1, 2, 3 hundredths, right? Then it said I'm going to add 6 tenths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, if I was going to take these 6 tenths and bring them straight down into the hundredths grid, what's their equivalent fraction? Well, every one of these tenths is worth 10 hundredths here. So that's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. And then we've got our other 3 that was in the original problem. So 60 plus 3 is 63, and that's how we got our 63 hundredths there. So again, this is kind of your visual model. This is the one where if you just remember to get from tens to hundreds, I'm just multiplying my tenths times 10. I'm moving another place value so I can have the same denominator down below, okay? We'll try another one with the visual model here, but I think you guys are going to get to a point where you're not going to need it. Like I said, it's kind of our training wheels, but we'll kind of work through this one together. So again, we're doing all the odd ones together. So I've got 3 tenths plus 1 100th. Well, my goal is I've got to have like denominators, and 100 is not going to change into tens, but tens can change into hundredths. So again, to get from 10 to 100, what is it that I do? I've got to multiply everybody at the party times 10. So times 10 in the denominator, times 10 in the numerator. So 3 times 10 is 30, 10 times 10 is 100. And now that I've got an equivalent fraction of 30 hundredths, I can add that 100. 100 is going to stay the same in my denominator, so I just add my numerators. 30 plus 1 is 31. Okay. Now, if I want to bring up my handy dandy homemade dry erase board here, my original problem said I had 3 tenths and 1 hundredth. So I'm going to come over here. Here's 1, 2, 3 tenths, and I had 1 hundredth, right? So each of these tens, if I were going to bring them straight down here, is going to be 10 hundredths. So there's 10, 20, 30, paper's getting away from me, and then the 100th that was part of my original problem. So you can see I got 10, 20, 31, which is what we got when we just multiplied the numerator and denominators by 100. So again, this shows you the visual model, and if you want to use this sheet to help you with your adding, go ahead and do that. Write your tenths up here, how many tenths that you have, okay, and bring it down below into your hundredths and see how many hundredths that is, and then add the other hundredths to it, and you'll get your answers. Okay. I'm not going to use this visual model anymore because I just wanted to kind of show you what that would look like if we were going to draw them all out. But you don't have to do that because I think you're going to remember the trick here. So here's our next problem. 19 hundredths plus 7 tenths. All right, tenths, I got to change to hundredths. So in order to do that, I multiply everybody times 10. So now I've got 7 times 10 is 70. 10 times 10 is 100. 70 hundredths plus 19 hundredths. 100 stays. 70 plus 19, 89 hundredths. Okay, moving on. 6 tenths, 36 hundredths. I got to multiply everybody by 10 in the tenths. Oop, I almost did 60 and gave you the answer. 6 times 10 is 60. 10 times 10 is 100. I've got 60 plus 36. 100 stays the same. 60 plus 36, 60, 70, 80, 90, 96 hundredths. Doing okay so far? Okay, here's the next one. 26 hundredths, 5 tenths. Well, 5 tenths is one we got to change, so multiply everybody by 10. That makes 50 hundredths. 26 hundredths plus 50 hundredths. Hundredths is my denominator. 50, 60, 70, and 6 is 76. 6 tenths, 22 hundredths. Times 10 times 10. That's 60 hundredths plus 22 hundredths, which equals 60, 70, 82, 82 hundredths. All right. Catching on without the training wheels? I hope you are. All right, 1 tenth plus 18 hundredths. So multiply everybody times 10. 1 times 10 is 10. 10 times 10 is 100, plus the 18 hundredths that was there. 10 plus 18 is 28 100ths. Okay, couple left. 2 tenths. Multiply everybody times 10. 2 times 10 is 20. 10 times 10 is 100. I can add my 5 hundredths there. 20 plus 5 is 25, and 100 is the same. Okay, last two. 3 times 10, I've got to take everybody times 10 here. So 3 times 10 is 30. 10 times 10 is 100. I'm adding 58 hundredths. 50, 60, 70, 88 100ths. And lastly, I've got 1 tenth. I got to change that to hundredths, and in order to do that, I know that's times 10. 1 times 10 is 10. 10 times 10 is 100, plus the 72 hundredths that's there. Oop, not thousandths, not yet. 10 plus 72 is 82, and I got 82 hundredths, okay? So that's basically what this assignment is about. Taking a fraction that has 10 in the denominator, making it an equivalent fraction for hundredths, so I have like denominators that I can then go in and add together. I can't add them if they're not alike in the denominator. So what I'm actually doing is just making it so that's possible. All right, so your job now is to go through 2, 4, 6, 8, all the evens that are on the opposite side of the paper, and write your answers. Find out what those answers will be. Change all the tenths to hundredths. Write your answers out. You can just do them like I did here. You can write your answers over here, however you want to do it. Now remember, you're not going to be able to write answers onto this sheet in Google Classroom because it's a PDF this time. So once you do the assignment, if you had this printed off, just take a copy of this or take a picture of it and send it to me. Or you can have a sheet of paper, write out all these problems, and then write your answers next to them, then snap a picture and send that to me as well. Okay. All right, that's going to be it for today. Tomorrow we're going to do some practice with IXL with this skill, and we're going to get ready to move on to the second skill of this unit, which is going to be taking equivalent fractions and turning them into decimals, which is what this whole unit's about. All right, if you guys have any questions, make sure you email me, and I think that's it for today. So we'll talk to you guys later on. Bye-bye.